Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Step into the shadows with Haunted Moonlight, your ultimate guide to all things spooky and supernatural. From spine-chilling horror movies and books to the world's most haunted places, cryptids, UFOs, and so much more, we explore it all. Join us each week for thrilling tales and eerie adventures. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and follow us on Instagram to stay updated on our latest episodes. Let Haunted Moonlight be your beacon in the dark, illuminating the mysteries that lurk just beyond the edge of every day.
Hey, I'm Elise Hugh, host of the podcast TED Talks Daily. For more than 20 years, Paylocity has been leading the way with cutting-edge work solutions like on-demand payment, which offers employees access to wages prior to payday, flexible time tracking features, which enable staff to clock in and out through their mobile device, and numerous other cutting-edge solutions that simplify collaboration across HR, finance, and IT. Learn more about how Paylocity can help streamline work and enhance business outcomes for your organization at paylocity.com/simplified.
I can't tell you how often I hear, oh, I'm a little OCD. I like things neat. That's not OCD. I'm Howie Mandel, and I know this because I have OCD. Actual OCD causes relentless, unwanted thoughts. What if I did something terrible and forgot? What if I'm a bad person? Why am I thinking this terrible thing? It makes you question absolutely everything, and you'll do anything to feel better. OCD is debilitating, but it's also highly treatable with the right kind of therapy. Regular talk therapy doesn't cut it. OCD needs specialized therapy. That's why I want to tell you about NoCD. NoCD is the world's largest virtual therapy provider for OCD. Their licensed therapists provide specialized therapy virtually, and it's covered by insurance for over 155 million Americans. If you think you might be struggling with OCD, visit nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call and learn more. That's nocd.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Aura. Imagine waking up to find your bank account drained, bills for loans you never took out, a warrant for your arrest, all because someone stole your identity. Hackers aren't waiting. Why are you? That's why we're thrilled to partner with Aura. Your personal data is a goldmine for hackers, and Aura helps lock it down. Aura monitors the dark web, blocks data brokers from selling your information, includes a VPN for private browsing, and a password manager to secure your accounts before criminals break in. For a limited time, Aura is offering our listeners a 14-day free trial plus a dark web scan to check if your personal information has been leaked, all for free at aura.com/safety. That's aura.com/safety to sign up and start protecting yourself and your loved ones. That's aura.com/safety. Terms apply. Check the site for details.
Greetings, mortals.
Neve and I were just having such a bummer conversation before we started this.
Oh yeah. Can you tell? I feel like you can tell like hosts' moods when they start an episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because there's just, yeah, you can tell when there's a vibe, or you can tell when we're giddy.
Yeah, you're like, well, so and so's having a bad day. I can tell by the sound of their voice, and just I feel like is it cadence and sort of the rhythm that you talk or speak?
Yes,
where it's like, so and so sounds like they might have gone through a breakup.
We have not actually. Just to be sure about that.
I mean, speak for yourself. Just kidding. This morning, I had a sound stuck in my head, which is very strange because it was a sound effect sound. And I was like, where did I hear this? I just heard this somewhere on a TV show, on a movie. And then because I had a sound stuck in my head, I thought about the band that caused us to meet. And,
oh, yeah?
And their song that's like, I got a song stuck in my head.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was annoyed because I couldn't place that song. I was like, wait, what?
That's the worst.
Is that song? So I spent my whole drive to and from therapy going through their whole discography, just like, is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? But then I would actually want to listen to the song, so it took way longer.
It's like you always want to Google lyrics, but see if there's something you either have the lyrics wrong or it's an instrumental.
Yeah.
Although I was really proud of myself the other day in the car, me and you were driving, and I was like, I have like part of a song stuck in my head and I don't think I have the lyrics right. I just know it's like a female singer and that it's probably from the 90s and it might have been on the 10 Things I Hate About You soundtrack. So I started going through that soundtrack and it wasn't on it. And I was like, no, this feels like a Michelle Branch song. And I looked at Michelle Branch and it was like the second song I'd put on. I was like, yes!
Perfect.
And then Ewan was like, who's Michelle Branch? And I was like, oh, what?
I just
You
had that
don't know.
experience
You're
with somebody else.
everything to me.
Isn't it Everywhere? You're everywhere.
Yeah, something
to
like that. Yeah, I didn't say I was a fan. Okay.
Yeah, I think Medardo and I had this conversation because he's like, who's Michelle Branch? And he always accuses me of knowing obscure white people. He's like, Emily and her obscure white people
I
reference.
can see how he gets there.
And I'm like, Brad Pitt is not an obscure white person. Who are you to not know who that is?
Brad Pitt.
It'll be people like that. I'm not even joking. Like very well-known people. And he's just like, who? I'm like, oh my God. Just because you only watch anime, basically.
I said to you, and after that whole Michelle Branch thing, I was like, that song it wasn't everywhere. It was her other big song. But I was like, it was on like every rom-com trailer in the 90s.
Yeah.
And he was like, never heard that song in my life. And I was like, you and I had very different experiences of the 90s. Because he was listening to like fucking Korn or something.
That's too funny.
And I was like, still in my, I'd say up until 1998, 1999, I was still like all pop music.
Bewitched.
Steps, S Club 7.
Oh my gosh. S Club.
Gonna show you how.
Perfect.
Ain't no party like an S Club party.
I like how we really turn this conversation around.
There is very little in life that cannot be solved by 90s pop.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that.
Truly, when I'm having a bad time, I usually will listen to Bewitched.
Like, why wouldn't you? Yeah, it was pretty hard to be a girl in the 90s, never mind
In
an Irish
Ireland,
girl in the
yeah.
90s. Yeah, and not know Bewitched. And also, have you ever heard of the band called Boyzone?
I don't think so.
So they're a boy band. They were like our answer to Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
And
Wait, I feel like we talked about this one on the show too at some point.
did we?
Keep,
Well, I was just going to say
keep
that,
talking.
the twins in Bewitched,
Mm-hmm.
their older brother was in Boyzone. So he was actually famous before
My goodness.
they were.
Wow.
So it's like this whole nepotism in the Irish music industry.
Were
Sure
they
it hasn't changed.
were they famous for some reason? I mean,
Boyzone?
no. So like the sisters in Bewitched, and then like
Mhm.
their brother is in the music industry. Did they have parents in the music industry or something?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Because I think so. Fun fact: Boyzone was put together by Louis Walsh, who is one of the X Factor judges in the UK. He's a very questionable guy from County Mayo, I think. And so he wanted to put together a boy band. And it seems like everybody who wants to put together boy bands in the 90s is sketchy as fuck. But anyway.
Yeah.
So he had like open auditions. And he basically, I think they had like notices put up at gyms and stuff.
Interesting.
Because they wanted like hot young guys. And Colin Farrell, the actor?
Yeah.
He was almost in Boyzone. And then he didn't go back for a callback.
He never would have been the Penguin.
Yeah, never would have been the Penguin. Never would have been in True Detective. He really missed out.
Yeah. Yeah, he's had quite the comeback. And that was another one. Medardo was like, who?
Mhm.
I'm like, you don't know who Colin Farrell is.
What the fuck?
To be fair though, I think I do know who he is because one of my friends had a huge crush on him when we were teenagers.
He was like an it boy,
Yeah.
like a heartthrob.
I don't
Especially when
get
he was
it
like dating Britney.
personally. Wait, he was dating Britney Spears?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
He dated her for a while. It was when he was like in his party boy stage.
Interesting.
Like he was severely into substances at the time.
I have to look him up because I'm curious how old he is.
He's around 50? 50
That's
something.
what I would guess. Let's check.
Mm-hmm.
48.
48.
And he has a terrible signature.
No, he seems to have like really turned his life around and turned his career around, which is nice. Like,
that's what I felt like. I was like, I thought he was just kind of like one of those party boys. You know, he kind of just like messed around but it seems like he went away for a while.
He did. So he had a son who has an intellectual disability that I'm not going to try and name because I'll definitely get it wrong. But his son has an intellectual disability.
Oh, okay.
And he has spent a lot of time advocating for him, and it seemed to like make him grow up because his son is like in his late teens now, if not his early 20s.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's what made him grow up, which is nice.
Okay, well, here at Rowan and Pine, I guess now we're Colin Farrell stans.
Yeah, we are Colin Farrell stans. Actually, watch his episode of Hot Ones. It'll make you like him more.
Aw.
He's just a really nice guy. Yeah.
That is very nice.
It's
it's nice to see
Colin Farrell.
Somebody have a good comeback and advocate for their son with disabilities and end up having a very successful career.
Yeah, and somebody who can show you that sobriety works.
Yeah.
You can get through it. It's possible.
Snaps for that.
Yeah. So, Emily, it's been 10 minutes. What are we doing?
To be fair, some of that was when you were adjusting your stuff. But,
oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I hope everybody appreciates us calling.
My underwear.
Wait, what?
I just wanted to see if you noticed.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoys the journey with Bewitched and Colin Farrell.
Yeah, if you didn't care about Irish pop culture, then sorry.
Apologies. Half of this podcast is Irish, so.
Well, the Americans are our biggest audience still, so there's more of you.
USA. USA. I hope you can all hear the excitement in my voice. On this May 5th.
Yes. Emily is bringing back patriotism. Patriotism is she's going to rebrand patriotism.
Honestly, we should
actually looking after citizens.
Yeah, we should do an anti-Trump patriotism. I think people are trying to do that. But anyway, I digress. This is going to turn into a giant conversation.
This is we're fighting the balance between your escape from current events, but also talking about stuff that's going on and that has a lot of repercussions today.
Yes. Fun stuff. My episode today is the tale of Little Red Riding Hood.
Hooray!
Hooray!
We'd love a fairy tale episode.
But don't get too excited.
Am I going to be annoyed?
Because also here at Rowan and Pine, I feel like we gravitate to these topics that are just going to piss us off. So,
yeah.
And
unfortunately, yes, we have our interest is in feminist topics, and unfortunately, history has not been kind to women.
Yeah.
Or femme-presenting people. So, unfortunately, there are a lot of opportunities for us to get pissed off.
I'm going to start off telling the tale of the Little Red Riding Hood so that people who don't know it, which I kind of doubt, will know what I'm talking about. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who was given a red hooded cape by her grandmother. The little girl loved the cape. She loved it so much that she wore it every day, and because of that, people of the town began calling her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red's mother told her that her grandmother was sick. She sent Little Red to her grandmother's house to visit with some food and a bottle of wine. This was a bit scary for a young girl, as the grandmother lived deep in the woods. Little Red's mother made sure to remind her daughter that the woods are dangerous, to stay on the path and not talk to strangers. Little Red promised her mother that she would stay on the path, but while she was on her journey, she forgot the promise and the hazards that her mother warned of. Before long, Little Red came to meet a wolf in the woods. He curiously asked her what she was doing. she told the wolf that she was headed to her sick grandmother's house to bring her food. The wolf asked where the house was. A very trusting Little Red told the wolf where the house was. The wolf tricked her into picking some flowers so that he could race to the grandmother's house and get there before her. The wolf made his way to grandmother's house, got inside, ate her, and dressed in her nightgown so that he could fool Little Red Riding Hood once she arrived. He got under the covers of the bed and waited. Once Little Red arrived, she saw what seemed to be her grandmother, but she looked and sounded a little strange. She inquired about the deep voice, but the wolf, dressed as her grandmother, said it was because of the illness. Little Red said, "But grandmother, what big ears you have,"
"The better to hear you with, my dear,"
replied the wolf. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood.
"The better to see you with, my dear,"
replied the wolf. "But grandmother, what big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood, her voice shaking anxiously.
"The better to eat you with, my dear,"
roared the wolf as he leapt out of bed and began to chase the little girl. Little Red Riding Hood went running around the cottage, yelling for help. There was a huntsman nearby who had heard the cries for help, but it was too late. The wolf opened his big mouth and with his sharp teeth ate Little Red Riding Hood. The huntsman burst through the door, killed the wolf, and cut Little Red and her grandmother out of the wolf. Little Red was so thankful to the huntsman and told her grandmother that she learned her lesson to never veer off the path or speak to strangers again.
Anatomy aside, we're just cutting stuff out of people. Makes me glad to be a vegetarian.
Yeah. You would never eat a person?
Yeah,
Just
or
kidding.
like that nothing that comes out of me will start moving again, you know?
Yeah. It is such a weird, I mean, obviously it's a fairy tale, but it's such a weird thing to be like, yeah, he just came and cut him out. It's like the wolf swallowed them whole.
Yeah, when you're aiming it towards children, I suppose you don't want it to be so graphic that it's, you know, the wolf tore them
Yeah.
limb from limb and devoured them. He just swallowed them whole.
Yeah, he tore their flesh off,
Yeah.
skinned them alive, like all that kind of stuff.
It puts me in mind of Jonah and the whale, you know, that story. And the whale also swallows him whole, and he just
Yeah.
lives inside the whale.
But the whale swallowing a person whole makes a lot more sense
It
than a
does.
wolf.
There's a lot more throat space in a whale.
And mouth space, I think.
Mouth space, yes. You could set up a couch there.
Yeah, you can build a home. Most of us know the story of Little Red Riding Hood, but some of us may know slight variations of the tale. To start off, I want to take you guys through the two best-known versions of Little Red Riding Hood. These are written by the Brothers Grimm and Charles Perrault. The 1812 Brothers Grimm version of Little Red Riding Hood has a bit more hope than the Charles Perrault version, which came about in 1697, so that was like 100 years prior to the Grimm rendition. The Grimm rendition.
Grimm rendition.
In this, the grandmother and granddaughter, who's Little Red Riding Hood, are saved by a hunter who comes and cuts the wolf open. In Perrault's version, the tale has the grandmother and Little Red eaten by the wolf, and the end.
So this is the gritty HBO version?
Perrault, HBO. Perrault's version also depicts Little Red Riding Hood as a seductress.
What the fuck?
At one point in the story, she is laying naked in bed with the wolf, which is absolutely
So
disgusting.
she's into knotting?
Oh no.
That's a deep cut for certain people who might listen.
She's
check
a
out her
naughty girl.
Patreon.
Just kidding.
Isn't she supposed to be a child
Yes.
when all of this
This
happens?
is why I'm so bothered by this. So Perrault also writes about the grandmother and Little Red being eaten and not rescued, which makes it seem like Little Red caused the death of her and her grandmother by being a filthy little girl. But also that she deserved it because men are awful creatures who are not to be trusted. So he's kind of painting this picture of she shouldn't have done what she did because men are untrusting.
Yeah. Like, and they can't help themselves, so she should have protected herself better.
Yeah.
Wonder where we heard that before.
And this is where I started to get mad. I was like, are you kidding me? Here we go again. The webpage where I read the Charles Perrault version had the moral of the story spelled out on the bottom. I'm not sure who wrote it, but it read...
A man.
Moral. Yeah. Well, but I don't know if it was Charles Perrault or if it was the person who posted the webpage. I have no idea.
A male person.
A male person.
It was a man.
He's a man, baby. So it said, moral, children, especially attractive, well-bred young ladies, should never talk to strangers, for if they should do so, they may well provide dinner for a wolf. I say quote-unquote wolf, but there are various kinds of wolves. There are also those who are charming, quiet, polite, unassuming, complacent, and sweet, who pursue young women at home and in the streets. And unfortunately, it is these gentle wolves who are the most dangerous ones of all.
If you could see my face, we should have recorded the video version of this because I'm just like, I look like I smell something bad.
Fucking wrote that. I'm so mad about it, and I don't know who wrote it. It was one of those old sort of like GeoCities web pages where it's just a page with a colored background and like Times New Roman on it.
Okay. So it's probably been up since like 1996.
Probably.
And has 1996 values.
And 1896. Yeah, that was really agitating. The Brothers Grimm version is a lot more sanitized. There's no sexual aspect, and there is simply emphasis on obeying societal norms, doing as you're told, with an emphasis on female obedience. And of course, the man is the hero in the end.
The damsels are always there, and they're always saved by a man, because
of course
they do be getting up to fuck shit, and it's always their fault.
I love that. Many more iterations have come since these two. A man named James N. Barker wrote a variation that was a short story of nearly 1,000 words. There are versions of it where it is told that her hood is golden. In one of these, her golden hood is enchanted and burns the wolf's mouth when he tries to eat her. On Wikipedia, it lists 18 films and animations that have themes based off of or feature the story of Little Red Riding Hood. It also has extensive lists of the tale appearing in music, television, and other literature. And then I just wanted to mention my daughter has a book, and it's called Werewolf, Their Wolf, and it's really cute because it's like a really, really modern telling of Little Red Riding Hood, and it's very different. It's by the Hazy Dell Press, which you sent her a book from, the Banshee book.
I still get emails from them now.
Yeah, I buy like all their books. But it was written by Kyle Sullivan, and Meg Hunt is the illustrator. And Meg Hunt actually has ties to like some people that I know, so it's really cool to like watch her illustrating these books. But in this, Little Red is like walking through the woods, and she's not paying attention because she's on her phone.
Oh my god!
And then this wolf comes to attack her. And she's like, "You better not attack me. There's a werewolf in the woods." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's talking about, "Is it this wolf? Is it this wolf?" And she's like, "No, not those ones." And then it comes to a point she turns into a werewolf, and she's like, "I'm the werewolf." And he's like, "That's not fair." And he like gets all mad at her. And then her grandmother comes to rescue the wolf who was trying to initially attack her, and like gives him and the other wolf's dog treats. And then she's like, "Hey, moral of the story, leave kids alone because you never know who you're messing with." And it's just like a very funny story.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I love how it turned it on its head.
Yeah, we read it almost every night. It's fun. So if anybody wants to get it, it's called Werewolf, Their Wolf.
We'll have it a link to the store listing in our description.
Yeah.
For anybody who is interested.
That'd be fun if they would give us coupon codes.
Oh, yeah. I also wanted to talk and give a shout out to Tish Black, she was kind enough, she's a listener to the podcast, and she was kind enough to send us an advanced reader copy, so an ARC, of her book, Ebony, Blood and Snow. And I think you would love this book, Emily, genuinely, because she draws inspiration from classic fairy tales, but revises them in a feminist way, and it's very cool. Tish describes her book as inspired by familiar fairy tales. Author Tish Black's debut short story collection takes the tales in new directions and rewrites history. Little Red hunts wolves, Gretel helps the witch, and Bluebeard's wife gets revenge. These transgressive stories challenge readers' ideas of what the tales could mean to them. There's more to learn from fairy tale heroines than how to be eaten, rescued, or married.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so this book is already out. I am going to link Tish's website also, and she has links for where you can buy her books. But because I knew Emily, I've been dipping into this when we have an episode coming up that's relevant. So we're going to have another episode coming up later on in the year that's definitely relevant. And it's all short stories, so you don't need to read them all in order. But in preparation for this, because Emily was doing Little Red Riding Hood, Tish has a story called Red, and it is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. And I'm obviously not going to tell the whole story, but some of the things that were changed was the wolves in question that she needs to be afraid of are men wearing wolf pelts in the woods. From the people in her village, they're sort of blaming her for, they don't believe her that she escaped the wolves and there's other children going missing. And they blame her, or they think that she has brought this curse upon their town, which is obviously the way it goes in everything that we read.
Right.
But it's also about trusting yourself and realizing that she can't rely on the other people because she is being infantilized, and they don't believe that she has the capacity to overcome the things that she overcame. Like one of the quotes that I have in it, so her grandmother's quite devout, and the quote is, "She thinks it's God that's kept me safe and happy, but it's her love kept me safe, though it could not save me."
Aww.
And there's like a little bit of religious zealotry in the story as well. Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting, because as she grows up and she's a little bit stronger, she basically goes back and hunts the quote unquote wolves that kidnapped her originally, and she gets her revenge on them, and she makes sure that people know that it wasn't her. There are dangerous men in the woods. And it also just reminded me of the whole man versus bear conundrum that was going around the internet. Would you rather meet a man or a bear in the woods?
I don't know what you're talking about.
This was deep when you were in the newborn stage. So there was a debate going on. Everybody's probably groaning listening to this because it was like so overdone last year.
Because everybody knows and I don't.
They're probably groaning that I'm like bringing it up again so many months after it was like trending. But the question is, they asked a bunch of women, would you prefer to meet a man or a bear in the woods? And women overwhelmingly said, I pick the bear, because the worst the bear can do to you is kill you.
Yeah.
And men were like, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I feel like somebody told me about this. I'm having weird deja vu.
Well, you may have seen, like, a lot of times when there's a discussion going on, a lot of the comments from women will be like, and they wonder why we picked the bear. You know, if there's like a news story of like some heinous thing that was like done, like gender-based violence, whatever it is. Yeah, a lot of people will be like, yeah, we picked the bear.
Because, and that's this is my argument for when there is rape or sexual violence in horror movies. It very much feels just kind of like, it feels sort of like self-serving to men in this weird way, like the male directors, because I think most women wouldn't put those in horror movies.
You can get away with a lot of implied things. Like,
right.
A lot of times with male directors, they're very graphic, needlessly graphic.
Yeah, because you had brought up, I think it was a film, was it a French film?
Yes.
But you said there was like a 20-minute assault scene, and it was just senseless, and...
It was the first time I remember crying at a sexual assault scene, and I had never been affected that much by it. So the film is called Irreversible.
Okay.
And the rape scene is like, it's right at the start of the film. It's that exact, like, nightmare scenario. Like, she's walking home late at night by herself. She goes to, like, an underground tunnel, and then it happens.
Yeah.
And then the point of the film is he was her husband in real life, Vincent Cassel. It's his vengeance for what happened to her. And it's just like...
Wait, so this happened to her in real life?
No. It's they were married in real life, but he plays her husband or her boyfriend in the film. and his character goes on like a vengeance spiral because of what happened to her.
It's kind of strange.
Yeah. What was the reason why you and I were talking about it is like what I found quite disappointing was, now I don't know if this is how she still feels about it, but Monica Bellucci basically gave an interview at the time and said that like she found it empowering to act that out on screen. And I can't understand that. I don't understand what she means by that.
Yeah,
and
I don't get it either.
It's,
you know what's funny?
Gratuitous in the film. Like, it's so fucking hard to watch.
Yeah, and so I was just listening to a podcast with Christina Ricci, who is one of my... there are not many celebrities I really even want to meet, but she's one of them. I'm like, I wish I could meet Christina Ricci. I feel like we would get along really well.
It's established that this is a Christina Ricci fan podcast. We've discussed her before, I think. So.
We have?
Yeah, because you were talking about that. She played... Oh my god, the guy that wrote The Great Gatsby, his wife.
Oh, Zelda Fitzgerald.
Yeah, she was in that Zelda TV show. I think we were talking about that.
Yep. Okay.
Way back,
makes sense.
last season or something.
Yeah. But I really like her. But she was in this interview and she was talking about how, and granted these are her opinions, but they're opinions that I agree with. She was talking about how we've tried to repackage exploiting women as empowerment. And it's like, yeah, pose nude, be sexually explicit, do all these things, it empowers you, when it's like, no, it's still something for like men to consume.
Yeah, it's for the male gaze.
Yeah, it's not really empowering when people she didn't really like go in depth, but she was just like, yeah, we've just repackaged it as it's empowering when it's actually more exploitative. And and I agree, and that's been something that's bothered me for a while, because I'm like, I want to agree with you that you're feeling empowered when you're being naked on the internet, but at the same time, and I'm not blaming anybody, it just feels like one of those things where it's like, it's perpetuating this idea that women are objects to be consumed. Yeah.
And you feel like a bad feminist for pointing that out.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it's why I feel like people feel entitled to a woman's body. Is because it's kind of served up for you on a platter.
Yeah, and that entitlement, we're seeing it like I know the US, you guys recently passed a law about AI generated like deepfakes. So it's trying to like combat that.
Tell me about it, Lawyer Neve. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's extremely hard. Do you know what a deepfake is?
I mean, it's like tricking it's an image or something that you're supposed to believe is real, correct?
Yeah. So it's usually AI generated, putting you either put the person's face on somebody else's body, or you manipulate it in such a way that it looks like their naked body. Well, that's like, it doesn't have to be naked people, but like, it started out as that because of course it did. And, the most like deepfaked celebrities are, the top two are Taylor Swift and Jenna Ortega. And I think the third was like, there's like a really beautiful female like Twitch streamer called Pokimane. I think she's like the third. So they're all like young women, and they're not women who typically show their bodies or go nude. Like Taylor Swift would be like, obviously she, she can wear something revealing. She will like wear like a showgirl outfit on stage or whatever, but like we don't really see her naked. She doesn't, that's just not her brand. It's just not what she does. So of course she is one of the top people that they want to see. And that's the entitlement. You know what I mean? Like it's you're not going to show it to me, so I'm going to create this for myself. It's just the new version of revenge porn and the fappening as it happened, like when everybody
I do not know what that is, but the fappening is hilarious.
The fappening was when a bunch of female celebrities, I think back in like 2012, 2013, their iClouds got hacked. So all of their nude photos were leaked on the internet, and the fucking neckbeards dubbed it the fappening.
My God.
Yeah. So this is just the 2025 version of this.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like this unwound in such a way, but I feel like as the last few episodes have gone, I feel like we end up in important conversations about difficult things. But my point, the initial point I was trying to make, was about rather being eaten by a bear than having to be like raped by a man. Is I ended up talking about horror movies because it's like you put this stuff in horror movies, but people who have been assaulted are alive to see those things. And that's why, I don't know if I've ever like explicitly said it, but that's why also shout out to the people who were very kind about my crying on the previous episode.
Yeah.
But I had been assaulted in the past, and so it's a very sensitive topic for me, and you live through it, and this is why I just kind of stay away from horror and things like that, because I know that people don't really give a shit and they'll put it in there anyway. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'd rather be eaten by a bear because at least then I'm dead and I don't have to suffer the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And
the worst thing a bear can do is eat you.
Yeah. And then you're dead. So.
Yeah. Or if you're in one of these stories, woodsman can come and cut the wolf open or the bear open, and you're fine again.
And she brought it right back.
It's a minefield if you have something like that that you're trying to avoid, and especially for you because you're into like dark and macabre stuff.
I know.
So like to look at you would think that you're a big horror movie fan, but like it's just your limit and that's it. How do you feel about cannibalism? Genuinely, because you love Christina Ricci, so I'm wondering, like, have you seen Yellow Jackets?
I watched the first season and I have not caught up since.
Yeah.
So I've been meaning to.
The first season's amazing.
Yeah.
The third season is not great.
That's a bummer.
The cast continues to be amazing, though. Like, it's the best thing about it.
I'm veering because now I'm not pregnant, and my child is almost 6 months old, so like I'm kind of shaking out of all the weird postpartum hormones. Not fully, but I'm feeling a lot more regulated than I have been. So, as I told you, I've been watching Chernobyl, which I know I'm very late to.
Just some light viewing.
But just watching that, I'm just like, God damn. Like, this is why I just watched The Great Pottery Throwdown and Spring Baking Championship and things like that.
Yeah, like I get it. I get why you would stay in like reality competition show, the safety of that. Like I go through phases. I'll go through phases where I literally will only consume like dark horror movies, and then all I want is brain rot.
Yeah, now you're like, I need the sun to come out now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really funny because people, like some of my friends in college were like, Emily's spooky cute, where I really like bunnies and stuff like that, but there's still kind of like a darkness to it, but I'm not full on horror.
Yeah. Yeah, and like there's a spectrum to it. Like my friend Laura loves gore. Like she loves, if the more gore that's in a horror movie, like people's heads getting taken off.
Do you ever call her Gora?
I should call her Gora. Yeah, she loves that. Whereas gore for me that's not what I look for. Like if I was given a choice between that and like a ghost horror movie or like a demon, I'm picking the ghost of the demon. Like I'm not a slasher horror fan per se. I'm more of a supernatural horror fan. You know?
Yeah, I really want to be able to watch more movies like that because I do like stuff like that. I just sometimes stuff gets weird and then I have flashbacks and it's just bad and nobody's having any fun at that point.
Yeah. But one good thing about like everything being on streaming services and the internet and stuff that like they do usually list sensitive material, which is really good. I mean, that was like unheard of when we were growing up, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is. There are movies that I've wanted to watch where I'm like, I suppose I could just Google and say, I don't want to see this part, somebody's probably got a timestamp, and it's like, okay, at 12 minutes 30 seconds, don't watch this.
Yeah. It's like when I was growing up, I used to watch Dirty Dancing, and my mum used to cover my eyes when they went to bed. Because even though it's the most tame movie in existence, she covered my eyes. I didn't get to see Patrick Swayze laying somebody down in bed.
Oh my goodness.
It could have been an awakening for me. But,
it could have been.
No, I was allowed to watch it when I was like 10, fully uncut, with all of the gyrating that was going on.
That's when I was like 11, my favorite movie was Moulin Rouge. And watching it as an adult, I know it's so good, but watching it as an adult, I'm like, feels a little inappropriate for an 11-year-old. But
yeah, in my school, we asked if that could be our musical that year. And our drama teacher was like an old man. He was creepy anyway, but like, God love him, he was like, I don't think we can do that. Like a bunch of 15-year-olds in like lingerie, basically.
like they're working in a brothel.
Pretty much.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
What if I told you that right now, millions of people are living with a debilitating condition that's so misunderstood, many of them don't even know that they have it. That condition is obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD. I'm Dr. Patrick McGrath, the Chief Clinical Officer of NoCD. And in the 25 years I've been treating OCD, I've met so many people who were suffering from the condition in silence, unaware of just what it was. OCD can create overwhelming anxiety and fear around what you value most, make you question your identity, beliefs, and morals, and drive you to perform mentally and physically draining compulsions or rituals. Over my career, I've seen just how devastating OCD can be when it's left untreated. But help is available. That's where NoCD comes in. NoCD is the world's largest virtual therapy provider for obsessive-compulsive disorder. Our licensed therapists are trained in exposure and response prevention therapy, a specialized treatment proven to be incredibly effective for OCD. So visit nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call with our team. That's nocd.com.
But speaking of all of the rape culture bullshit, the root of Little Red can even be traced back to ancient Greek and Roman tales. A scholar named Graham Anderson compared the tale to local lore as documented by Pausanias. And he was a man who traveled Greece and told what Greece was like from his first-hand perspective. In this local legend, each year a virgin girl was offered up to a malevolent spirit wearing the skin of a wolf, who then raped the girl. Then, one year, the boxer Euthymos came along, killed the spirit, and then married the girl who had been offered up as a sacrifice. So, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, once again, being saved by a guy. But also, like, what? I feel like the guy wearing the wolf skin was just some guy.
Yeah, probably.
Hashtag some guy.
Hashtag just some guy. There's a lot of symbolism in the Little Red Riding Hood, starting first with the fact she wears a hood and that it's the color red. In many cultures, as well as in times of the past, women's hair was seen as a tool of attraction for the opposite sex. Little Red covering her hair can be seen as a symbol of modesty, which bothers me because you shouldn't have to be modest when you're a child, but you know.
Right, and like I'm pretty sure even like in Muslim cultures, like girls only start wearing the hijab when they go through puberty, right?
Yep, it's when you start becoming a teenager.
Yeah. But I'm thinking back to like the Puritans, and they would always have pretty much all of their women wore like bonnets and stuff.
Yeah, and in so many cultures, women wear scarves and stuff. But
like I think the kids did as well, like Puritan children. I'm pretty sure they wore like little bonnets or like little headscarves. So this is basically what I'm saying is this is very puritanical.
Yeah. Isn't there a branch of Judaism where once you're married, nobody's ever allowed to see your hair?
That does sound familiar. I couldn't tell you which branch.
I feel like it's... I don't know if the women shave their heads or just wear wigs for the rest of their life. It's something like that. But yeah, so the modesty thing. But this is sort of strange because she's wearing red, which for a long time was seen as a sinful color, and quote-unquote respectable women wouldn't wear red. It's also theorized that the color red is representative of menstrual blood.
My mother told me, now she wasn't saying this like I couldn't wear it, but she like was like laughing and joking when I started like to go out to clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I was looking at like a pair of red heels to wear with whatever outfit, and my mum said that like when she was a little girl, or like when she was a teenager, they were always told that only sex workers wore red heels, and that was how you identified them. And I'm like, in fucking Donegal, like in the fucking 70s, like where were they? Like, I'm not saying they didn't exist, but like they weren't wearing red heels out.
Yeah.
My God.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's just a little bit of Irish Catholic prejudice there for you. Yeah, red heels were a sign of being a sex worker. Well, what's interesting as well is like we as women are told to be polite and to not like question things too much. Just go along with it because you don't know how people are going to react. And I understand that Little Red at this point thinks it's her grandmother.
Right.
But at the same time, that is a form of politeness because the wheels are turning there and she's like, this doesn't look like grandma, but like,
right.
I'll upset her.
Yeah, she's got
I
sort
say
of,
that it's not.
It's seeming like she's got this sort of nagging thing in her gut that's like, something is off.
Yeah, and she's noticing it.
Right.
She's like, this isn't what my grandmother looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to ask some questions because like maybe she's sick or like, you know, rather than just going, who the fuck are you?
Right. Yeah, she's like, something's going on here, but I can't be rude. So it's just like, oh, Grandma, your eyes are so big. Grandma, your ears are so big. Ba, 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 ba.
It's like, have you ever seen, not to go off on a big long tangent, but have you ever seen that video of them showing like how little boys and little girls are socialized differently, and that they give them ice cream, and the little girls they all have ice cream, but like there's a bunch of salt or something in it. It's a bit basically to make it taste bad.
Yes. And the little girls are kind of like,
and the little girls are like, oh yeah, it's okay. Like they're trying to protect feelings, whereas the little boys are like, ew.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm pretty sure I told you about the book. It was an audiobook, so I didn't technically read it. I listened to it. But it's called Rage Becomes Her.
Still counts.
And in the beginning, she talks all about the ways that boys and girls are socialized differently. And she talks about how the patriarchy is bad for little boys, too. Because little boys are, like, they're raised in a way where anger is the only emotion they're allowed to have. And, like, this is going to get too tangenty. But, yeah, it is very much that little girls are raised to kind of, like, accept little boys' bad behaviors. And the whole boys will be boys thing. Another theory that has been posed is that the story is about Christianity and rebirth. Perrault and the Brothers Grimm apparently were Christian zealots, so it's not too far off to think that they would tell a story in which the huntsman, representative of a higher power, rips grandmother and Little Red from the wolf's stomach, and they have a second chance at their lives.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so they have, like, eternal life, like the eternal life that Christianity promises.
Yeah, or kind of, like, reborn as a Christian, and being a better person, and whatever else.
Yeah, and it's, like, despite their sins of, like, not playing by the rules and, like, by allowing the wolf to eat them, despite all that, they're still being given that rebirth and that second
And
chance.
Little Red Riding Hood with her tempting red hood.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Jesus Christ.
I wanted to close this by reading the Roald Dahl version because this one is actually really great and I love it. As soon as Wolf began to feel that he would like a decent meal, he went and knocked on Grandma's door. When Grandma opened it, she saw the sharp white teeth, the horrid grin, and Wolf said, "May I come in?" Poor Grandmama was terrified. "He's going to eat me up," she cried. And she was absolutely right. He ate her up in one big bite. But Grandmama was small and tough, and Wolfie wailed, "That's not enough. I haven't yet begun to feel that I have had a decent meal." He ran around the kitchen yelping, "I have got to have a second helping," then added with a frightful leer, "I'm therefore going to wait right here till little Miss Red Riding Hood comes home from walking in the wood." He quickly put on Grandma's clothes. Of course, he hadn't eaten those. He dressed himself in coat and hat. He put on shoes, and after that, he even brushed and curled his hair, then sat himself in Grandma's chair. In came the little girl in red. She stopped, she stared, and then she said, "What great big ears you have, Grandma." "All the better to hear you with," the wolf replied. "What great big eyes you have, Grandma," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to see you with," the wolf replied. He sat there watching her and smiled. He thought, "I'm going to eat this child. Compared with her old grandmamma, she's going to taste like caviar." Then Little Red Riding Hood said, "But Grandma, what a lovely great big furry coat you have on." "That's wrong," cried Wolf. "Have you forgot to tell me what big teeth I've got?" "Ah, well, no matter what you say, I'm going to eat you anyway." The small girl smiles. One eyelid flickers. She whips a pistol from her knickers. She aims it at the creature's head, and bang, 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 she shoots him dead. A few weeks later, in the wood, I came across Miss Riding Hood. But what a change! No cloak of red, no silly hood upon her head. She said, "Hello, and do please note my lovely furry wolfskin coat." The end!
Ray.
That's my favorite.
She got her vengeance.
She did.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, when you look into any of these fairy tales, there is such, like, a rich, like, we could be here for ages just talking about all of the different things that it suggests. Yeah. Like, it's not lost on me, the whole dressing up as a woman in order to prey on vulnerable young girls. Yeah. Which is very topical at the minute.
Unfortunately.
And just to say, without going into it too much, if you think a wolf dressing up as a woman a wolf needs to dress up as a woman in order to prey on young girls, if you think that's ridiculous, then maybe it is. Maybe dressing up as a woman just to get into a space so you can prey on young girls is not something that's fucking happening.
Yeah, it's not. They're just doing it.
Just to let you guys know.
Nobody's dressing up as a woman.
They don't need the excuse.
They do whatever they want, whenever the fuck they want, and they assault whoever they want, and they're not sneaking into bathrooms dressed as women. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. And by passing laws, all you're doing is making trans people more uncomfortable, making everyone else more uncomfortable. But yeah, like, see what's crazy to me is, like, I feel like when we were in our, like, 20s, like, listening to punk music and, like, you know, being a little bit radicalized, going very leftist, I feel like this was all new, and now I'm just like an old lady in my late 30s, and I'm just like, how am I still having to argue this shit?
Yeah.
So I don't know how the old ladies are doing that are still having to go to marches.
Yeah, right.
Still having to protest that crap.
I'm fucking 80 years
like,
old. Let me relax.
The 60s. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Such is life. What did you do? You did a poll, and people are, like, into our feminist angle at this point, but they're also like, hey, can you throw me a spooky bone here?
We hear you that the spookiness is, like, you still enjoy it, and it's probably why you first started listening to us in the first place. And we love spooky stuff too, so we will have more of that.
I'm trying to come...
Not next episode, though.
No, not next episode. I'm just trying really hard to find spooky stuff that's not been done to death. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, Amityville Horror. Everybody's heard about that. You know? Yeah. So, stay tuned. We're trying to come back with some spooky content. We just have to find good stuff.
Yeah. And we always try and do something that's a little bit less, like, feminist preachy in our Pinecones episodes, too.
So sorry, everybody. But if you're listening, you're probably down with everything that we're saying, because you guys are good little minions. I'm just kidding. You're not minions.
I always say, like, if you want us to know something, if you want us to do more or less of something, let us know, because people are very quiet about telling us things. So if there's something you're like, I love that, I would like more of that, let us know.
There are so many. I was even going to bring up the Brothers Grimm because I think you and I have talked about that movie in the past.
Yeah, we have.
Because that has...
And they're going to make a cameo in the next episode too.
I love that movie so much. Although watching it now is hard because the special effects and stuff like that are really bad.
I remember them not being great at the time.
Which kind of blows my
I don't know
mind
why.
because, yeah, I'm like, this wasn't made that long ago, but it feels like it's just bad. The special effects, and I feel like the film quality is kind of garbage. I wish they would remake it. Although R.I.P. Heath Ledger, because he was in it, and he can no longer be. Maybe Colin Farrell could take his place. Now that we're Colin Farrell
I'm
stans.
sure there's some beautiful blonde-haired Australian emerging actor who would be able to do it, you know. They seem to have a lot of those.
Yeah.
Also, go listen to Little Red by Kate Nash because it's been in my head all day. And it's on her first album, and that was so good.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out, too, because I don't think I've ever listened either.
Her first album was great. And she apparently can't make any money off her music streams anymore, that she doesn't get enough streams. So go listen to Kate Nash.
Oh.
She seems like a cool
Dang,
person.
that sucks.
Yeah, she's doing OnlyFans now.
Oh. I mean, good for her
Yeah.
if that's what she wants to do. But going back to the whole male gaze and all that kind of stuff, I hope she doesn't feel like...
Well, she kind of said that it was like she would prefer to be doing
Oh.
music. But, yeah. Which is a
Kate
little bit sad.
Nash.
She's great in Glow. Yeah.
Okay, we need to get off this episode.
Shut the fuck up!
My name is Emily.
My name is Neve, and this has been Rowan and
And fuck yeah, Folklore.
Fuck yeah, Folklore.
Bye. God dang. But
Do you
it's
wear wigs?
what?
Do you know that? it's like do you wear wigs?
Hi, I'm Adam Grant, host of the podcast Work Life. For over 20 years, Paylocity has been simplifying work with innovative solutions that teams love, like on-demand payment, which offers employees access to wages prior to payday, flexible time tracking features, which enable staff to clock in and out through their mobile device, and numerous other cutting-edge solutions that simplify collaboration across HR, finance, and IT. Learn more about how Paylocity can help streamline work and enhance business outcomes for your organization at paylocity.com/simplified.
You can save up to $850 at Mattress Warehouse right now. And trust us when we say that'll go a long way. Visit mattresswarehouse.com.